Hello friends, good evening to all. In the last lecture, we already discussed about the idea of nationalism given by the Moulana Hussain Ahmad Madni. Now, one more prominent figure of the Indian national movement, who is Moulana Abul Kalam Azad. And right now, we will discuss about the idea of nationalism uh, propagated by Moulana Abul Kalam Azad. He is one of the most prominent figure in the Indian history. Uh, he was born in the year of 1888. His full name was Abul Kalam Ghulam Muhyiddin Ahmad bin Khairuddin Al Hussaini Azad, commonly known as Maulana Azad. And he was died in the February in 1958, February 22. And he was an Indian independence activist, writer, and a senior leader of the Indian National Congress. When India gained independence, he served as the first Minister of the Education in the Indian government. He adopted the pen name as Azad, which means free, and Maulana, an honorific meaning, which means our master. So Maulana Azad's significant contribution to the establishment in the establishment of the education and its foundation in India is commemorated by the celebration of his birthday as the National Education Day throughout India. He was born in the Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia now, then the part of Ottoman Empire. And Azad's forefathers migrated to India from Herat, and his father was a renowned Muslim scholar who was settled in the Delhi with his maternal grandfather after leaving India during the Indian Rebellion of 1857. Azad settled in Calcutta with his family in 1890. He received homeschooling and was largely self-taught, mastering language such as Arabic as the first language, Bengali, Hindustani, Persian, and the English. He was trained in various Islamic jurisprudence, Majahibs, which is Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali fiqh. These are the four prominent schools among the Muslims regarding the jurisprudence, as well as Shariat, mathematics, philosophy, world history, and science by tutors hired by his family. He was a precocious student. He established a library, reading room, and the debating society before the age of 12. In the very early age, he was too much prone towards the debating, literary understanding, and began writing articles for literary magazines and teaching classes at a young age. He completed his traditional course of study at 16, 9 years ahead of his counterparts, and married Zulaikha Begum at the age of 13. He also compiled numerous treatises and interpreted the Quran, the Hadith, and the principle of fiqh and Kalam. His political ideas are very much prone towards the inclusive understanding of the community. His journey from Islamic revivalism to universal humanism involved the several key points. Earlier, he was a Islamic revival in his early age, but gradually he became a universalist. So there are various stages and the various events that actually influenced him to become a universal thinker. In the early engagement with Islam, he was trained as a Maulana, which means a religious scholar. Azad was initially orthodox and fundamentalist in his approach to Islam, and his nationalist engagement in the later ages shout unity and the participation of the Muslims in the national movement, equating Islam with the Indian nationalism and universal principles. His synthesis of the reformist and the orthodox philosophies were an attempt to reconcile reformist and the orthodox ideologies within Islam, and he advocated for the education, liberalism, and faith in the progress over dogmatism. And pan-Islamist stance, which includes initially as a supporter of the pan-Islamic ideas, and Azad experience with events like the end of the Khilafat movement brought him closer to Indian nationalism. and futility of the spiritualized politics. Critics like Aisha Jalal hold Azad accountable for the influencing Muslim separatism and the contemporary Islamic state ideologies. But Azad's approach was more accommodative and focused on the tolerance and the dialogue. Azad emphasized the unity of the humanity and divine, and he also advocated for the religious tolerance, universalism, and opposed both Muslim and Hindu fundamentalism in a democratic and the plural society like India. So, friends, now we are coming to the core principle or his idea, which is called as nationalism. We know that uh, he passed through the pan-Islamic movements in the late 19th and the 20th centuries as a religio-political ideology which aimed to unite Muslims globally in response to Western imperialism, which was built upon the existing concept of the Ummah, but had unique compatibility with the modern nationalist sentiments, according to scholars like Nikki Arkady. So Jamaluddin Afghani was a key figure which makes a great influence over the pan-Islamic movement. He also influenced the Moulana Azad and many worldwide leaders, which basically belongs to the Muslim community or the Islamic world, including Muhammad Ali, Mukhtar Ansari, and Muhammad Iqbal. We already discussed that Azad was also influenced by the Jamaluddin Afghani. So Afghani's teaching blended anti-imperialist ideas with anti-colonial nationalism, particularly relevant to the nation under Western colonial rule like India. So Afghani's publication, which actually one of the most famous publication, Al-Urwa Al-Utqa, which served as a platform for anti-imperialist discourse and also inspired the subsequent works by his followers. So Maulana Azad, basically influenced by the Afghani, and also criticized the Sayyid Ahmad Khan for his stance on the Turkish Khilafat and advocated for jihad against colonial occupiers in Al-Hilal. Al-Hilal is basic, that uh, his publication, he written Al-Hilal. So Maulana Azad and other leaders such as Mukhtar Ansari and Muhammad Ali, they navigated the ideological tension between Indian nationalism and the pan-Islamism, aligning with the latest principles. Maulana Azad's stance on nationalism was a complex and which evolved over the time. In the early stance, Maulana Azad emphasized the compatibility of the pan-Islamism with the Indian nationalism, particularly during the non-cooperation and the Khilafat movement. He saw the struggle against British imperialism as interconnected with the preservation of the Islamic identity and the rights of the Khalifa. His shift toward the nationalism happened after the non-cooperation and the Khilafat movement, and he started focusing more on the Indian nationalism, and he began to align with the Indian National Congress and its brand of nationalism, which reflected a broader shift in his political priorities. He also utilized religion for nationalist end. Despite his religious background, Maulana Azad viewed religion as a tool to unite the masses and assert their identity within the political arena. And he advocated to find a theological rationale for his political activism and using religion to mobilize support for independence from colonial rule. This basically para was taken from an interview given by the leftist or the Marxist thinker Sayyid Irfan Habib, who is a great modern Indian historian, in the print 2023. So Azad, basically what he said, that Azad countered the faith-based nationalism of the Muslim League and its narrow understanding of the nationalism. He also understood all those espoused majoritarian nationalism to question separatist Muslim nationalism. So Maulana Azad saw himself as a Muslim, but more than that, he declared himself as a proud Indian and part of indivisible unit called Indian nationality. It was a precarious part of his being, which he was not prepared to surrender at any cost. So Azad declared in 1921, the need of the hour is that 7 crore Muslims living in India should establish such close ties and develop such fellow feeling with the 22 crore Hindus that they may henceforth be reckoned as one single nation and country, as inseparable parts of one combined and indivisible whole. The majoritarian nationalism, which flaunted today, runs contrary or in opposition to the idea of composite nationalism, which was endorsed by the Azad throughout his life. So Maulana Azad, along with the other pan-Islamist leaders like Ali Brothers, faced internment and confinement during World War I due to their political activism, particularly through Al Hilal, which was his writing scripture. So the non-cooperation movement and the Khilafat movement saw Maulana Azad's significant contributions, where he emphasized that the Khilafat issue was intertwined with the broader problem of British imperialism in India, and he advocated for the non-cooperation with the British rule as a means to both achieve Indian independence and safeguard the rights of the Khalifa. Historians such as Musil Hassan suggest that the pan-Islamism and Indian nationalism were compatible, as both aimed to eliminate the British domination. This compatibility was evident in joint protest movements during the non-cooperation movement. Maulana Azad viewed that pan-Islamism as a means to strengthen the Indian nationalism, especially during the non-cooperation and the Khilafat movement, but he shifted its focus away from it after the movement ended. He assumed the leadership in the Indian National Congress (INC). Maulana Azad aligned more with the INC's brand of nationalism and reduced emphasis on pan-Islamism. Despite his religious background and his upbringing in the Orthodox family, Maulana Azad utilized religion as a tool to unite the masses and assert their identity within the political arena. And he developed a worldwide view of the Islamic world and disseminated it to the Indian masses through writings in journals like Al Hilal. And he started leveraging his religious upbringing and education in Arabic and the Persian mediums. Maulana Azad's early career was very much steeped in the Islamic theology, but he later recognized the importance of English language for engaging with the contemporary developments, reflecting his evolving political and intellectual journey. Friends, now we are going to conclude the Maulana Azad's significant ideas and his contribution in terms of giving the valuable idea of nationalism. So Maulana Azad's life defies simplistic categorization as he transcended rigid ideological boundaries. He was against the very narrow-minded or the very rigid ideas of anyone who is giving a very rigid or the limited valuable idea. So he was a pragmatic leader who adopted his politics over time, yet remained steadfastly committed to the Indian nationalism and Hindu-Muslim unity. His vision for India was inclusive, which aimed to create a nation where everyone belonged. While he explored paths like pan-Islamism, he saw them as compatible with the Indian nationalism, not contradictory. So Azad's journey underscores the complex role of religion in shaping political ideologies, emphasizing its potential to unite rather than divide society. So thank you.